Civil disobedience is characterized by many actions, but the most common example would be the refusal to obey laws that are immoral or unjust. The purpose of this would be to appeal to one's sense of justice, put issues on public agendas, or draw attention to unjust laws. An early example of someone acting civilly disobedient would be Henry David Thoreau's protest against slavery in the Mexican War. In 1846, Thoreau was arrested and imprisoned for a night for not paying his poll tax. He made his reasoning public, thus putting the issue on public agenda. Almost 100 years later, in 1930, Mahatma Gandhi led a defiant march to the sea in protest of the British monopoly on salt. He started the 240-mile march with 78 followers and ended the march with tens of thousands of followers. When they reached the sea, Gandhi spoke and led prayers. He then made natural salt using mud and picked up the salt, thus violating British law. Thousands of people followed in his lead. Civil disobedience broke out all across India. Gandhi played a vital role in India's independence from the British in 1947.
Nelson Mandela was 1918 through 2013. He studied law at Fort Hare University and the University of Witwatersrand. He slowly became involved in anti-colonial politics. He founded the militant group Umkhonto we Sizwe in 1961 and led a sabotage campaign against the government. He utilized nonviolent protest and was arrested for conspiracy in 1962 after trying to overthrow the state. He was given a life sentence. He served 27 years in prison until an international campaign lobbied for his release. He became the first black president of South Africa and instituted many changes in favor of equality and human rights. Claudette Colvin was born in 1939. She was 15 years old when she was arrested for resisting bus segregation in Montgomery, Alabama. She was one of 5 arrested. She was the first. She refused to stand up and give her seat in the black section of the bus because of a surplus of white people riding the bus that day. She was pregnant with a married man's baby and refused to move. She was described as mouthy and opinionated. Meanwhile, Rosa Parks did the same thing. She refused to move peacefully and quietly. The NAACP saw Parks as a much better figure for the movement given her calm and ladylike attitude during the situation. Many forget that Colette was actually the first to lead this nonviolent protest. Martin Luther King was a leader and revolutionary during the civil rights movement. He instituted many nonviolent campaigns for race equality, including the Montgomery bus boycott, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Selma to Montgomery marches, and many more. In 1964, he received the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through nonviolent protest. He was assassinated in 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. His death was followed by many riots in many U.S. cities.
A simple but effective example of civil disobedience would be in 1965 when the United States issued a draft for eligible males to fight in the Vietnam War. And the result of this draft, 34,000 young men burned their draft cards.
Occupy Wall Street was a movement that began on September 17, 2011 in Zuccotti Park, located in New York City's Wall Street financial district. The Canadian pro-environment group Adbusters instituted the protest. The movement protested social and economic inequality, greed, corruption, and the influence of big corporations in government. One of the main slogans, "We are the 99%, refers to income inequality in the U.S. between the top wealthy 1% and the rest of the population. Protesters were forced out on November 15th and started occupying banks, corporate headquarters, board meetings, foreclosed homes, and college and university campuses. The movement is still in motion even though most New York protests have ceased.
In 2014, protests were demonstrated by students, parents, teachers, and others in Colorado against the changing of APUS history curriculum to make it more patriotic. In September of 2014, the majority conservative Jefferson County Board of Education held a session to discuss this change. And during the session, 2 high school students hauled in cardboard boxes containing 40,000 signatures on a petition they had circulated online. There's also been rallies and protested all across Colorado of the change in curriculum, and this is a perfect example of civil disobedience still existing in the 21st century. Civil disobedience still surrounds us today and is still one of the most effective catalysts for change in your community and in your life.
As these many brave individuals and movements have demonstrated before us, there is always a way to change your current situation.